All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be doing a review of the CMF Phone 2 Pro and the CMF Watch 3 Pro. And we're just going to go over our basics, just my whole overall experience of the phone. So, all right, with all that being said, let's get to it. All right, so what I did do is I decided to do the review of the phone and the watch all in one review just to just show my experience, my initial experience with both of these devices and just talk about what Nothing is doing overall. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump over to this overhead view and let's get to talking about this phone. So, all right, so let's get all of the visuals out of the way. So on the front, you have your 6.77-inch AMOLED display, and Nothing has the screen material. They're calling it Panda Glass, with the resolution of 2392 by 1084, and that typically gives you around a 3000 nit peak brightness, with a typical brightness around 800 nits. So with all that fancy mumbo jumbo out of the way, all it means is you'll be able to see the screen in direct sunlight. So looking over to the right side of the phone, you have your power button and your, I'm going to call it the essential space button, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. And around the top, you have nothing. I think there's a mic up there. And you have your volume rocker on the left of the phone, which took me some getting used to because I'm really used to it being on the right side of the phone. Kind of weird, kind of a different decision around that. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, you have your speakers on the bottom of the phone. You have your USB-C port, mic, and your SIM tray. All right, so around the back, you have your 50 megapixel main camera and your 50 megapixel telescope camera. And you have a ultra wide 8 megapixel. And on the front, which I forgot to mention initially when I was talking about the screen, but you have your hole punch camera on the front, 16 megapixel. And on the back, the main sensor can only do up to 4K 30 frames per second. And of course, you have your 1080p and 30 and 60 frames per second options. And you have a slow-mo option of 120 frames per second. All right. So I guess what we'll do is just go ahead and jump into the software itself. And I guess the best way to say it is NothingOS has this really digital retro feel to it. And that's the best way I can kind of describe it. It's a really simple Android experience. The software feels like just basic Android, but with Nothing's skin on top of it, which is essentially what it is, but you feel it through and through. Just really simple. The menu looks very similar to what you would see on a Pixel phone or something like that. Just a really simple experience. But with that being said, it's very, very fluid. With while it's rocking that Dimensity chip in here. And let me show you that. The processor is MediaTek Dimensity 7300 Pro. I would say that it handles day-to-day processes relatively smoothly. I did watch a lot of Nothing's promo videos on this phone and their introduction to it, and it feels like they tried to market it. I mean, even though they only showed it briefly, they try to market it as a gaming phone, as you can game on here. And I could say that you can, but you do have to dial those settings down quite a bit. I've tried a couple of games on here. I have a few installed. And not a gaming phone, but anything that I say in this review, just understand that this is coming from the perspective of I use a lot of high-end phones. So I'm not bashing this phone by any means, because I do want to reiterate that this phone comes in at under $300. So it's a full package for that price. You get a lot. And on top of that, the watch itself is $79, and you get, you get a fairly decent watch for that price. And I mean, we'll talk about the watch in just a moment, but we'll get there. So continuing on with the software itself, let's go ahead and jump into customization. You get decent customization here, but just keep in mind, very basic Android experience here. So you have your always on display, you have your wallpapers, of course. You can't do, you can't use video like short videos as your wallpaper. It just won't allow that. And you can go in, you do your shortcuts on your lock screen. You can choose which ones you want that to be. And you're going to put a widget on your lock screen. And I am, the Nothing widgets have really grown on me. I wasn't a fan of everything being that digital yet or analog looking. I just wasn't a fan of that, but it's actually really grown on me, and they've really created their own identity, which I have a lot of respect for. So I won't bash them on that. I mean, it's, you'll either hate it or you'll love it, which is, if you're deciding to get this phone, you've watched a few videos on it, so you know what you're getting into. So very few customization options. You can do your wallpapers. You can, let's see if I could. So you can't really adjust your clock manually. You have to choose from the options that they have there. Let's see. So if I swipe, yep, and there you go. Yeah, let me get my finger out of the way. You have a few options there. And you can tell they have their theme. their they have their theme laid out heavily within the OS. So respect to Nothing for doing their thing. So yeah, you have a few widgets here. You can go through those. So yeah, few customization options, nothing too crazy. And you can see, like, as I'm clicking through the menus, it's responding to my touches very nicely. The fingerprint reader works. It's kind of low on the phone for my taste, but it works. I have both thumbs. It does have Face ID, although I typically don't set up Face ID on phones that I just don't feel like it's as secure as the fingerprint on a lot of phones. So I typically don't set it up, but it does have that option for you. All right. So software is, I mean, it works. I I want to try to do what people do where they click into an app and swipe out real fast. So I mean, it works. I mean, yeah. For those that love that see you click in and out of apps real quickly, I'm not that good at it because I don't do it, but it does work. So you have that going for you. All right, so jumping over into battery life, let's talk about that just a bit. So I'm going to jump into the menu because I like to talk through it while giving you a visual of it. So I'm at 50% right now, but I did charge the phone a little bit this morning. That's including time after I charged the phone. I was at roughly around between 11 to 15% with 6 hours of screen on time. So you're getting a really solid battery here, which it comes in at 5,000 milliamp hours. And I mean, it's fairly optimized, but I will acknowledge that Nothing tends to close apps if they're running in the background or just stop them from running. All right, let's say the browser, for example. I have a few different tabs open. If I go into this wallpaper app, you'll see it's refreshing. Yeah, everything it does stop apps from running in the background. So just keep that in mind. And I think that's how they managed to give you such great battery life with this phone. So, no complaints there. I guess the other part we'll go ahead and jump into is the cameras on here. While I'll jump into the camera app real quick, it's a very simple, straightforward experience here. Nothing too crazy. You got your video, your photo, your portrait, your night. You won't blow minds with this camera by any means, but you'll capture your scene or whatever you're trying to take a picture of. I've taken a few here in well lit. The pictures come out really nicely. You can see you get some blur on the photo. If you know, my son is really active, and I'll put these up big on the screen for you guys to see. But he is really active. Every now and then you may catch a good one where he sits still just long enough for the photo to snap. And then other times it just won't capture it really well. That one did okay. This one is really blurry. But like I said, it's a kid, so he's not sitting still. So if you're trying to capture scenes where there's a lot of movement, you need to have a really good light. In low light areas, it just takes too long to capture photos, so they'll most likely come out blurry unless you're capturing a stationary object. So, yep, just keep that in mind. But not mind blowing by any means, but you'll see when I put them up on the screen, and then we'll come back and wrap the phone up and then talk about this watch a bit. All right, so with everything that we've talked about, and you've seen the cameras and the batteries and the software itself, nothing. They're doing something really special with this device. I know I did. It doesn't seem like it when I'm talking about it, but under $300, you get a really well-rounded phone. It does everything decently well, especially for the price range. I can't stress that enough. For under $300, you get a phone with decent cameras, good battery life, decent software. I mean, a basic Android experience. It doesn't freeze or anything or behave weirdly when I'm using it. And I didn't even get to mention the customization option where you can have where you could take this off and put a new one on. I mean, you have a lot of possibilities here with this phone, and once again, under $300. I mean, come on. All right, so I'm going to scoot the phone over. And actually, we're going to swap these out. So with the watch, like I said before, initially, the battery is the star of the show. I charged this phone up, I charged this watch up around noon yesterday, and I'm at 95% now. This watch will last you at least 2 weeks. I mean, at least, before you have to charge it again. I mean, that's a start. And all right, so, and then you have your notifications here, which they are really decent. I will say that one of my only gripes about the notifications that you get on this phone is that if you get email and there's more than one email, it'll show two new messages, but you can't click into it to see what those emails were. You can only see that you got two emails. So I guess it gets the point across that you do have email, so you have to check your phone. But that's it. I really wish that you can click into that and see more information, but you cannot. But other than that, it does do notifications fairly well. So, I mean, no complaints there. And then you have your typical fitness stuff on the phone where it tracks your steps, your heart rate, your calories and stuff like that. And you can even fire up workouts and things of that nature, and it'll track that. So, I mean, it's a really well-rounded watch coming in at $79. And you control your music from here. It tracks your sleep. So it has a lot of their regular activity trackers on here. I mean, they've done a really good job with that. So no complaints on the watch. I mean, really well-rounded. But like I said before, and I'll say it again and again and again, the battery is the star of the show. I mean, we're in a world where you have your Pixels and your Samsungs, and while they do last, if you buy the upper echelon watches or whatever, they do last maybe 3 or 4 days or whatever, but they're not lasting 2-3 weeks. They're just not. And this phone will do that. And then you have a few customization options here. You can go through those. And I think you have even more options inside the app itself. So really well done. Kudos to Nothing. I just wanted to spend a little time, show them a little love before I send this phone back to my friend that sent this to me to spend a little time with. And I've enjoyed it thoroughly. No complaints whatsoever. Nothing has something solid on here. They have a really, really good option for those that are out there looking for a budget-friendly phone. This is it. I know there are a few options out there, and while those will be good as well, I feel like this is really well-rounded. I didn't touch on the speakers much. They get decently loud. Not impressive, but you could hear everything. I've done calls on this phone speaker and holding up to the ear. Both speakers are fairly decent. I didn't have any complaints from the caller. I didn't have any complaints myself when I was listening to them talk. So fairly decent speakers. The mics seem fine. Once again, no complaints there. Battery life is really good. I mean, even coming in at a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, 6.5 hours screen on time, you're good. And the charging speeds are really nice. You charge your phone up and you're done. I mean, you have a decent amount of battery within 30 minutes or so. So no complaints. Kudos to Nothing for doing what they did with this phone. Really good job. Solid option for those out there looking for a budget-friendly device. It is a go. All right. Really appreciate y'all tuning in, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Later.